overview of internships and what those entail and what we're looking for in students. And then I'm gonna go and talk about the different things that we do at PNNL, right? Because the one thing that is unknown to most people is a variety of work that national labs do. And so I'll touch on that a little bit, and then I'll hand it off to Nicole to talk to you about internships. And I promised I do actually do technical work, and I promise to come back and talk about technical work at a different time. But now we just really want to talk about internships because the summer is coming up. And also we want to make sure you guys are aware of this opportunity. And I believe in free agency, and I believe students should have lots of choices. Hopefully, one of your choices is PNNL. All right. So again, as Patty said, I'm Chess Simpson. I'm going to give you a little brief introduction on myself. Let me see. Cool. So I'm originally from Jamaica in a town called Maypen. If you think of Kingston as New York City, Maypen is like somewhere in Iowa, like a farming community. That's where I'm from. I used to raise goats and pigs and stuff like that. After high school, I left Jamaica, went to New York City, and started to go to college at Queens College, City University of New York. Spent some time at University of Pittsburgh, and then I got my PhD from the University of Chicago in 2002. I then moved to Los Alamos National Lab, spent 13 years there, from being a postdoc to a staff member. And in around 2015, I came to Pacific North National Labs. So I'm steadily moving west. Hopefully, this is as west as I go. The only other place I'd go west is probably Hawaii. Um, so that's me in a nutshell. Um, and again, I work at a place called a national lab, and it's run by different entities for the Department of Energy. And so there's 17 national labs spread across the country, and they really kind of sprung up for the Manhattan Project when during World War II we're trying to build a nuclear device to counteract the Germans because we thought they were building one as well, and so it was a race against them. Obviously, we won, and the history of atomic weapon use, and so through that now they've diversified their outlook on to solve national problems. So things like obviously nuclear nonproliferation is one and continues to be ever since the Cold War started, and the Russians and others have developed nuclear weapons. That's a big one. Another one is kind of basic energy sciences. So things like biofuels, electric grid modernization, alternate energy, things like solar, wind, nuclear energy is one that's a big deal to us, and anything related to biology and chemistry, any sort of basic science, the national labs do, and different national labs have different capabilities. And so I'll talk to you about what PNL does shortly. Here's kind of a picture of our campus. You see there's no gates or guards, so it's an open campus. You can walk around, which is nice. It has a really like a campus feel. Might not be as pretty as or as green as Alabama A&M and Fisk, but it's relatively green. We have a nice river right down here. You see that's the Columbia River, and we can take water from that and irrigate this nice desert as we like. PNL, we're about 5,000 staff now, actually. So this slide is kind of outdated. We spent about a billion plus dollars. We do a lot of publications, a lot of inventions. Right, we're really kind of an entrepreneurial type of national lab where scientists are encouraged to publish their work and to also seek patents. And there've been a bunch of spin-off businesses from that. Really, the core things that we do, right? In the middle here, we do chemistry, earth scientists, data analytics. We do a lot more, but these are kind of the core things we do in my directorate in particular. And those core things feed things like electric grid modernization, nuclear nonproliferation. Like I said, cybersecurity is a big deal. for us, and also energy storage. So a lot of chemistry, a lot of biology, a lot of physics, a lot of basic sciences, a lot of mathematics, a lot of computer science, and again, a lot of technical fields as well, like cybersecurity. Now, um, I like to show this slide because it's important for students especially to to realize or to get a just remind you guys why it's important that you're in school, right? And so PNL success relies heavily on a highly educated workforce. And so if you look at PNL here in the middle versus the United States, and you look at education level, you'll realize really quickly that the majority of PNL staff are highly educated as compared to the rest of the United States. And this is probably true for I'd bet money on it that is true for all the national labs. So look at that. 28% of our workforce are PhDs versus 1.3% of the United States. And so again, and essentially, you know, you hide, you work at PNL, you get paid a lot, or above average. Let's say let's spit a lot. You get paid above the average of for the United States, and with education, you have a long, stable and fruitful career, right? And I put an asterisk there because that largely depends on you, and how much work you put in. And again, here's another thing, just to remind you students, right, why education is necessary. Essentially, bottom line, more education means more pay. More education means less unemployment. It's the bottom line. And the data is very clear on that. And so continue, don't stop, continue education. That's important. Because that's what we're looking for. We're looking for highly motivated, highly educated people to help us solve our national problems. Here, I like to put this up. Who succeeds at PNL? We want interns who are hungry, people who are willing to learn and ask questions, interns who are hardworking, people with high scientific integrity, people who are gritty. Gritty meaning, when things are tough, you can push through. You may make a mistake, but you'll continue to work hard. People with self-awareness. I'm self-aware. I talk a lot. And so I have to remind myself when I'm talking to someone not to monopolize the conversation, for example, but also be self-aware on a professional side as well. Are you too aggressive? Are you too meek? That sort of stuff. Being self-aware and having ways of overcoming your deficiencies, right? And of course, one of my big things, performance versus trust. And that speaks to this graph here, right? And this was done by a guy named Simon Sinek. I don't think this works anymore. This link works anymore. I tried it recently, it didn't work. But look up performance versus trust by Simon Sinek. And what we're looking for is, obviously everybody wants somebody who is a high performer with high trust, right? As a person who works hard and is trustworthy. There are very few people like these in the world. I know a few at PNNL. One is my colleague, Dr. John Burnett, high performer, high trust individual, right? But he's a rare individual. Nobody wants obviously someone who is low performing with low trust, right? Obviously. However, what people don't realize is there are people who are very high performing and have low trust, right? They'll put out a lot of work, but you can't trust what they're doing because they either lie, they either cheat, they either misrepresent information and are unscrupulous, right? Unfortunately, a lot of the people that you think of as being jerks or right are in that high performer, low trust category. What we would love, right? Obviously, high performer, high trust individuals, but we'll also love medium performance, high trust individuals. That's okay too, right? Trust for us is a big deal. And especially in the circle that myself and Dr. John Burnett have built in terms of our relationships with people like Dr. Babalola and people like Patty, right? That's what we need, high trust individuals. And so we're looking for students who have that as well. And sorry, I took a long time on this because this is very important to us in terms of how we recruit and what we expect of our students when they come to PNNL. Now, let's get down into some stuff that PNNL does. And it's important to set the stage. We love interns, but we want to make sure that you're aware that we don't, if you like chemistry or biology and you're working for Dr. Babilola, who's a physicist, don't think that you're just going to do physicist work, right? Tell us what you want to do, and we will make it happen. We'll try to find you the right fit. Okay, so that's a big deal for us. So here, starting from the upper left panel. Sorry, someone has a question? No? Okay.
No, okay, sorry.
Sorry, go ahead.
It's okay.
Oh.
Sorry to interrupt.
Okay.
I'll ask afterwards.
Okay, cool. No worries. All right, cool. So here on the upper left panels, we have lots of work on around earth sciences. So big issues, macro scale problems like flooding in places like New Orleans or the eastern seaboard during a hurricane. We do flood modeling, for example, natural disasters, sorts of things. Then in the middle panel here, upper middle panel, we do a lot of biological system science where we're looking at a microscopic scale at biological systems, and all the way up to the macro scale. We also have quite a bit of user facilities that people can come in and propose work for and get funding to do research at these user facilities. And I'll talk about those a little bit later. And then we have we do chemistry and material science. We do advanced computing. So we have a lot of computing clusters, both large and quite small. As a matter of fact, Dr. Burnett has a program where he's building a supercomputer out of Raspberry Pis, which some of you guys will have the luxury and opportunity to work on this summer and in future years. And of course, we do a lot of nuclear and particle physics, so fundamental science in nuclear and particle physics, looking for things like dark matter, for example. We have energy. We deal with energy and environment. So electricity and energy infrastructure. We look at that. How do we secure our electric grid? And we also, in that, do emergency response. So think of a terrorist attack on an electric grid. How can we backtrack and figure that out? Who the actors are, and how can we prevent that? How can we mitigate that? And we also have work in renewable energy, smart buildings, for example, and how to use things like blockchain to protect the grid. Finally, here in the lower left-hand corner, we have things like nuclear energy and regulatory work, where we're helping places like NRC make decisions about how and where to implement new sorts of reactor technologies. So for example, there's a big push now to have these small modular reactors, and we do basic research. So Dr. Burnett and I do some research in that area, but also how do we help them to regulate it properly when these things actually come online, because they will come online. Nuclear is the future, or part of the future. And so how do we help to make that safe and secure from a regulatory framework? So we actually have lawyers and people are subject matter experts working at PNNL to do such a thing. Also in the middle here, lower, carbon management and fossil energy. We do a lot of that. And then finally, because we're next to the Hanford site that produced a lot of the plutonium during the Cold War, there's a lot of legacy waste, and how do we actually manage that? And so what you're seeing here are some things being built to store nuclear waste, low-level nuclear waste that's buried all over. Well, not close by, far enough away that it's not a problem, but nonetheless we have to worry about it. And so we do a lot of environmental management there. So if you're into that, there's a lot of work there. We do national security. We do your non-proliferation, um, rad nuke monitoring and detection, um, chem and bioweapons, and then bioagent detection, explosive detection, and also we use a lot of data analytics to take big data and disparate sorts of big data and put them together to make a story and to figure out what's going on and who the bad actors are in these various nuclear, chemical, and biological arenas. And of course, in the lower right-hand corner, you can thank us at PNNL for this technology that you see at airports, right? So whenever you go to the airport and you scan, that's developed here. That technology was developed here at PNNL. We have an entire group that does that. Again, behind all of this work, every single bit of this work is computing, and we're big on and aggressive in our ability to use computing to leverage a lot of our expertise. And so whether it's building multidisciplinary teams or building new sorts of models and algorithms to solve complex problems, we do a lot of computing. And so if you're into computer science, um, this is definitely a place for you. If you're not into computer science, I encourage you highly to start doing that. And for our internships, we always have a Python course, and we're going to actually try to put on a deep learning course this year and a data analytics course as well this summer, so that you guys can be exposed not only to programming but to how to apply programming in data analysis and in deep learning, machine learning. And so we'll make sure you have an opportunity to learn those things or be introduced to it. And of course, here's some highlights on how we use computing from human performance analytics, cybersecurity in outer space, using machine learning for malware detection, and a host of other things. Finally, I think this is finally state-of-the-art facilities. We have several facilities that are unique to PNNL. We have our EMSL facility that has a lot of mass spectroscopy and other analytical techniques that people can come and use. We have a radiological processing laboratory where we actually process different sorts of radioactive material. We have a shallow underground lab. Dr. Burnett has some multi-million-dollar equipment there where state-of-the-art stuff. We can look at things in very low background and get really detailed measurements. And Dr. Mini Sharma talked about that and some of those measurements that occurred there last time. And we also have a coastal marine research environment. So if you're into marine science, this is the only lab in the DOE complex that actually has a marine lab situated next to the ocean. I heard it's pretty beautiful there. I haven't been yet. And of course, we have a system building, engineering building where we actually do smart building research as well. And so if you're into that, we can make that happen. And of course, lots of bioproducts, lots of chemistry going on at PNNL. Here, I'll leave this link up. You can, yeah, I'll probably send it out to Patty. It's for later. When after your internship and you want a job, you can apply for PNNL jobs here, and Nicole can talk about it later. And so, the question is, hey, come and join us and change the world. So with that, I'll turn it over to Nicole. If you have any questions, I'll put my information in the chat, but I'll just hand it off to Nicole now. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we want to take any questions?
Yeah, let's take some questions. Yeah, because I may have to jump if I have a 11:30 hard stop. But yeah, do you guys have any questions?
I have a question.
Someone has a question, right?
No, I don't have one anymore. You answered it during the presentation.
Okay. All right. Cool. All right. Yeah, and if you have any questions, I'll put my email in the chat. You guys can just email me straight away. But make sure you CC Dr. Babalola or Dr. Patty.
Yeah, even if you have any questions when Nicole is presenting, probably like you can always put it in the chat.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Chess. It's really nice that we collaborate like this with our S&T, with our staff scientists, and that we are able to co-present, because our staff scientists can really talk about the technical, scientific research that's happening. And then what I do in our side, which we call management and operations at the laboratory, is to provide those opportunities. And how do you come to a laboratory, and what are some of the things that you can take part in? And so again, my name is Nicole Castilla-Bentley, and here in a bit I'll introduce some of our student STEM ambassadors that we have here today to talk a little bit about what they've done, and then also hopefully encourage you to apply for some of the internships. Alrighty, so everybody can see my screen, correct? I just always want to make sure, because I never know. I start talking and they're like, are you sharing anything? It's like, yes, I am. So internships, before I start, I can see some of you, and maybe the others can just unmute, but how many of you, by raising your hand or putting an emoji in the chat box, have participated in an internship? I see one hand. Anybody else? Eva, of course, yeah.
Actually, most of our students have 1 hour or more than one experiences so far, unless they're freshmen.
Ah, wow, that's impressive. Most students that we talk to don't raise their hand, so that's impressive, and a very good a testament to what your support systems are. But one thing we're here to talk about is a little bit, do you know that we offer Department of Energy, Office of Science, Workforce Development, teachers and scientists, paid internships at PNNL, not only at PNNL, but at the national laboratories. And so the reason why we go out and talk about internships is because we understand that you are the future workforce, right? We understand that in order to carry our mission, to carry out what the national laboratories, which you heard from Chess, it first started with a few laboratories to work on the Manhattan Project. That later turned out to 17 national laboratories taking part in Office of Science research. And so that stems throughout the nation. And so we are here to hopefully inspire and to encourage some of you to apply to a national laboratory. One of the opportunities we'll be sharing about today is the WDTS that's offered at PNNL and also throughout the national laboratories. But there's 4 different programs that we offer. One of them specifically we're going to focus on today, which is our SULI. I don't know if some of you have heard about our SULI internships, but it's our undergraduate laboratory internships. And so students who are pursuing a STEM career can take part in this opportunity. I also want to stress about our community college internship program. So those of you who have siblings, friends, know somebody who's maybe going to community college or attending or will be attending, that we do have that opportunity for them too. And it's basically the same eligibility, which we'll talk about here. And then our visiting faculty. So those of you, I'm not sure if we have any faculty joining us today, but it looks like A&M is eligible for a visiting faculty position. And so maybe that's something we can have some future talks in, but we're always looking for faculty to come and collaborate at PNNL and do those. And then also we have our Office of Science Graduate Research program. And this is for students who are specifically going into their PhD, who are working on their thesis, and they'll come to the laboratory for 6 months to either work on a project with a scientist or continue doing their research. So those are the 4 main programs. I like to show this. Chess stressed about this already. He showed you nationally what the different laboratories, but there are 17 national laboratories that offer the DOE WDTS experience. And so maybe you're not wanting to come to Washington State, which that's where we're located. You see us right there with a yellow star. Maybe you want to go to Brookhaven New York and work on some of their core capabilities. Or maybe you want to go to New Mexico, Los Alamos. You can, and you can do this by taking part in the SULI internship. And so I love to show this because Department of Energy, Office of Science, they are putting the money where it belongs, right, to students. And so they're offering all these across the nation to be able to expose you to this, because we do know that we have a workforce that's retiring. We know that diversity and equity opportunities, we know that diversity opportunities can make additional collaborations, right? When we have different views, just like what Chess talked about, we're trustworthy, different views, different experiences can create some of the most unique research out there. One thing I do want to say is Chess shared a slide that showed the millimeter wave technology, the one in the airport where people get their scanned. We had a SULI student who came in a couple of years ago, work with some of those researchers who created that millimeter wave. And he came in for a summer. They liked him so well, they kept him on. And now he is full-time staff, and he is also now working on the scanner for the shoe, right? So the shoe, so we don't have to take off our shoes at the airport when I'm like, hurry up, get that done. And so he's working on that. And that was from a SULI student who took a chance. He said, I took a chance. You came and talked to me at my school, and I thought, why not? If I don't, I'll be working in the fields this summer. And I thought, let's do it. So he did. And now he is a full-time position working on our national security for the nation. So things like that is very unique to what we do at national laboratories. I like to show this. Chess kind of talked about it, but when you apply to one of our internships, you're not going to be just placed in Richland, Washington. You might be placed in Seattle. We do a lot of national security in Seattle. You might be placed in SWIM, which we talked about. We are the only laboratory in the nation that has a marine and coastal sciences research program, and that is here in SWIM. It's a beautiful campus. We have a Portland, which does a lot of energy environment. They work a lot of housing, sustainable energy. And of course, then in DC, which is Maryland, we have our Joint Global Research Center over there that does a lot of policy energy work. And so when you apply to one of these, you're not just coming to Richland. It just depends on your research and your interest. So I talked about Elvin right here. Here he is. He's the one who's now he's a full-time employee. He came in working mechanical engineering, and now he's working with some of the top scientists in the nation doing national security. Our SULI program is very small. We have 110 a year. Our community college is about 25. But I can tell you there's a major impact that we have to the laboratory. Before I go on, I wanted to, and I think I have some time, I want to show you a video. Let me see, I'm hoping, bear with me, I'm hoping we have this. I want you to hear from stories from our SULI interns. Tell me if you cannot hear it.
Google Fi, a phone plan by Google. Save up to $600 on the all-new, all-epic.
Can you guys hear?
Was I afraid of applying for the internship? I really was.
I should have taken advantage of this opportunity like much earlier.
At first, I actually thought maybe I shouldn't apply, but I did, and it turned out, to be the best decision.
I'm a SULI intern this summer at the Pacific Northwest National Laboratory.
I am basically conducting thermal modeling analysis.
I knew I was kind of interested in the nuclear side of things.
I'm working in materials, aging, and degradation.
I am also a student at the University of Washington majoring in material science.
I've been surprised at all the different opportunities that I have got through this internship.
Learning from Brittany, who's my mentor, was an amazing experience. She didn't just let me focus on just my one project. She made sure that I was meeting different people.
You actually see that what they were teaching you is completely applicable to real life.
From researchers to even other interns, everyone is just so engaged and has this love for STEM, and I just love being in an environment where that is kind of cultivated. Throughout this whole internship, I was working remotely. I felt like it was still very easy to communicate with my mentors,
And just having people there, a good support system, just balances me out and just helps me continue on to fight, you know, for what I want in my future.
Advice that I'd give to somebody about this internship is don't sell yourself short.
To always pursue the science, like just have a burning passion for it.
Scientists are like the superheroes of the real world.
Just go for it, and you never know what could happen.
Alrighty. So those were some of our students. We have some stars here. We're in the video. Kobe and Andrew will be talking a little bit. But I just wanted to hear a little bit about some of the SULI interns that they vary from different research and majors. So the SULI program, I already said it's offered 17 national laboratories. The CCI is offered in 16. The plasma physics is, I believe they're the only ones who don't offer a community college. There are two different appointments. We have academic year, which essentially, if you want to think about semesters, we have 16 weeks. And then we have our summer, which is 10 weeks. And so right now we have a bunch of students coming in for the summer. And so they applied. And one thing that happens a lot of times when we talk to students is that they don't realize that there's deadlines. And so our summer closed in January. And so if you're not, if you didn't apply, you can for next summer, but also those of you who are graduating, we have a fall session coming up. So I hope that you look at that. If you don't have something lined up for fall, come and stay with us for 16 weeks and experience some research at PNNL or at any other national laboratory. You're assigned to a staff scientist based on your research, your major and your interest, your research interest, and it is paid. It is $650 a week. Of course, it's taxed. We like to tax everything, right? And $250 housing allowance for the weeks that you're in. So it is a 16-week or a 10-week. Again, it is taxed. And then you're like, okay, that sounds cool. Well, are you eligible, right? So you must be currently enrolled, a full-time, or have recently graduated. So if you know people who actually recently graduated and they still not really finding what they want, they can still apply 2 years after they graduate. So please, if you know people or you yourself are getting ready to graduate and maybe you're not really sure, you're going to go study abroad, remember this opportunity. Also, you have to have a 3.0, U.S. citizen or LPR, and of course have earned a high school diploma. So that's it. That's basically, and then of course you have to apply. There's some things that you do. We'll put in the chat, and also I'll send it to you. Chess too, it can send it off, all our links, but if we could put it in the chat box where you can go to apply and learn more about the internships at PNNL and then at WDTS. So this is where you would go to actually apply to the program. And then one thing I really want to stress is that you check key dates. Always check key dates because, as I said, summer's over. You cannot apply for summer, but you can apply for fall. And so that's going to be opening up next month, March 15th, and it closes May 26th. So make sure if you're thinking of fall, you get your application before it closes. And then we have our spring session, which I think opens in July. So you could also do spring. But then also if you're thinking summer, it opens in October and closes in January. So make sure you check those key dates. That's super, super important. And that it's 5 p.m. East Coast time. So it's always East Coast time. And again, here's our key dates. Fall opens May 25th. Oh, I'm sorry, closes May 25th. So if you're thinking about fall, come here. Really quick, what do our interns say when they do come to a national laboratory, to PNNL specifically? Overall, 97% feel like they have a high quality research experience. Someone would consider about almost 96% would consider a job at a DOE laboratory. And you saw Chess earlier say that it's lucrative, right? You can, it pays well, and you're surrounded by other scientists. And that the peers who have taken part would recommend this to their peers. So students are happy, they're leaving happy. Really quick before we go on to our students, I'm going to give our students some time. We do have a national security internship program. We're going to put that in the chat box. If you're interested in learning more about INSIP, this is all majors work, because as you can see, national security has just shared earlier, it spans all across disciplines. And so you could be cyber, you could be computer science, you could be computational, even chemistry. And so you can take part in this as well. So that's another opportunity. They are still taking applications for summer. So please take a look if you cannot do SULI. We have our EEDIP, those students who are specifically learning in energy power, engineering power, coastal research. It is open. So please look at that too. We're putting that in the chat box. We will also send it to you by email. They are still accepting applications. So you're thinking, hey, I might want to do this. Go check them out as well. And then for more information just about internships at PNNL, look in the chat box, or we have our PNNL.gov STEM internships, and this will have all of our internships in there, INSIP, our minority serving institution program internships, and then of course our EEDIP and SULI. So please go take a look and go look at some of those deadlines. So I want to turn it over to our students ambassadors. We have a students ambassador. They help outreach and recruit for Department of Energy, Office of Science. And so their experience, they go around talking to students just like you about what they did. And so we have Akumi Ellis, we have Andrew Tong, we have Raina. I'm not sure if Raina made it today. And then Eva Autumn. So is Raina with us today? Raina? No. Okay, then we are going to go. Sorry. We will have Eva. Eva, start us out. So Eva, the floor is yours.
Awesome, thank you. Hi everyone, my name is Eva. I'm a second year PhD student currently at the University of Riverside, but my journey actually began at PNNL. And so I kind of first want to start out with how did I learn about PNNL? I was just looking up internships that I could take in the spring. And then I was a little bit uncertain because I really had no idea what I wanted to do. I have a biology background, but I'm not sure if I wanted to work on human cell lines or microbes or something else. And so in order to kind of figure out what my research interest was, I went to a page called Science Highlights on the DOE website, and there's a screenshot on this slide. And what you can essentially do is in the search engine is you can look up like something that you're interested in. You can select whether it's with the DOE National Laboratory. You can add a couple of filters, and then it's just these really short articles that describe a research project. And if you find it interesting, there's contact information for somebody you can reach out to and ask if they're taking on a SULI intern. And so that's essentially what I did. I looked up microbiology, environment, and I found a research article with somebody, and I cold emailed them. Can you go to the next slide, please? And so I had decided to apply and I learned about this, and I went on the science research page about 2 months before the application. I had emailed those two scientists on the DOE page, just a cold email, and they weren't taking SULI applications, but they connected me with somebody who was taking on an intern. So I was emailing them back and forth. At the same time, could you click the next one, please? I asked for my letters of recommendations, I finished my essays, and I submitted my application right before the deadline. And the application does have a couple of essays, for example, on like your research interests. And I really included what I read from that DOE highlights page and what I talked to with those scientists in my essays. So it was very clear who I wanted to partner with and who I wanted to be my mentor. The next, awesome. And so after my application, I go back one. I met with my future mentor about a month before I received my offer letter. And so it was really that small connection of emailing somebody, getting back to them, getting another connection, and then meeting with my future mentor, having this kind of informal interview. And I realized I really liked him because he was such a human-centered person. He was showing off all the amazing things you could do in Tri-Cities while you visit here, like the Columbia River and all the history. And then about 2 months after I submitted my application, I received my offer. And so what did I research at PNNL? I tested how to encourage a fungus, a yeast called Yaria lipolitica, to take up DNA from its environment. And the purpose of this is to enhance genetic engineering techniques. I also tested how a fungus survives without certain proteins. And so in order to do this, we tried to figure out like where these proteins were in the cell. And so we used microscopy. So you can see that middle bottom image shows that the protein is localized to the outside of the cell, which is usually where the ribosomes are. So we were like, okay, maybe it's like in ribosomes or mitochondria. And then we also took knockouts of this protein and we tested it on different plates that had conditions like ones that had hydrogen peroxide to test oxidative stress. Next slide, please. I think there's just one slide missing, but I was going to share about how I was able to do a lot of really cool opportunities at PNNL, where I visited the 21 Tesla ultra high resolution mass spectrometer. It was this huge machine that I took a picture next to. And it had one of the most powerful magnets in the world. I went to the shallow underground lab, which is about 30 meters underground. And we had to put on all of this like double layers of protective equipment to be able to go in. And I was able to take part in a lot of free computer science workshops, which is what the previous speaker was talking about. And I learned how to use something called RStudio and a plasmid editor, etc. And so since that, I realized I wanted to focus on sustainability, on using microbes to enhance sustainable production of commodity chemicals. And so I applied to a PhD program here at UCR, and now I'm a student STEM ambassador, and I'm trying to spread about how SULI has had such a big impact on my career and really help students by connecting them with mentors, by answering questions, like writing an introductory email so you don't feel like you have to cold email somebody. And it's really been an amazing experience. So I believe this is the next person's slide.
Right, Nicole, those are my slides from the one before. Yeah, the next one. Or yeah.
Sorry, I think our slides got mixed up.
Should I?
Is this your slide? Are you ready?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, cool. So, hello everyone. My name is Ikumi Ellis, and I am currently a senior at Arizona State University majoring in environmental chemistry. At ASU, I conduct research related to atmospheric chemistry, which is very different from most of the stuff that I've done at PNNL. So for the last 3 summers, I've had the amazing opportunity to intern at PNNL, which is a multidisciplinary laboratory, as Dr. Simpson mentioned, with core capabilities in chemistry and materials science, computational and mathematical sciences, earth and biological sciences, engineering, and user facilities and advanced instrumentation. And one thing that I want to say that sets internships at PNNL and through the Department of Energy apart from other opportunities like an industry or even REUs is that it is a guarantee that you will conduct meaningful research and get something valuable out of the experience. And people like to see that you are a SULI intern because it's really like a seal of approval that you are able to perform in these environments, and it's paid, which is definitely a plus. So going into some of what I did at PNNL, could you go to the next slide, please, Nicole? So I started off as a community college intern studying greenhouse gases and what we can do to mitigate them. And my first summer as a CCI, I studied a method for reducing harmful nitrogen emissions from diesel engine exhaust. So nitrogen oxide compounds are significant contributors to air pollution, accelerating the formation of acid rain and the development of smog, which is a primary constituent of ground level ozone. And selective catalytic reduction is a method of converting this toxic nitrogen oxide emission from diesel exhaust into nitrogen and hydrogen. And as part of my project, I developed a program to separate and automatically fit the individual spectra that we obtained for all the data that we were collecting from the operation of this catalyst. And so this program allowed for efficient analysis of all collected data, and the results ultimately contributed to a greater understanding of copper-based SCR catalyst activity. Let's go to the next slide. The following summer, I worked with the same mentor on a project for an electrochemically driven direct air capture system as a carbon capture scheme. And in recent years, direct air capture technologies have become increasingly viable candidates for the sequestration of atmospheric CO2, but due to a lack of rudimentary understanding, direct air capture technologies are limited by high economic and energy costs. And to get around the issues of standard thermal direct air capture, we explored an electrochemical system that mimics the critical functions of natural systems like single-celled organisms that uptake CO2 through the coupling of this selective membrane capture solvent and electrochemical bias together. And the data that I processed from this project provided critical information on the efficiency of carbon uptake and sequestration of each individual component within the system. The next slide. And this last summer, I went back to PNNL as a science undergraduate laboratory intern, or SULI, looking at the degradation of various polymer materials as influenced by different sterilization methods. So current techniques for single-use medical device sterilization rely heavily on gamma ray radiation, which is provided by the cobalt-60 isotope. But we don't really want to produce more cobalt-60 than we need to. And so to move away from this, electron beam and X-ray radiation are being explored as alternatives. This is an ongoing project, and the research conducted will contribute to efforts to further the availability of sterilization options for the medical device industry, and also to advance the scientific understanding of the effects of ionizing radiation on polymer degradation. And through this past summer internship at PNNL, I was able to explore the wonderful world of material science, which is again one of PNNL's core capabilities, studying the structure and properties of different materials and their relative performance in various environments and applications. And like Eva, 2 years ago, I joined PNNL's team of student STEM ambassadors, working on raising awareness for opportunities for students from underrepresented communities in STEM, like myself, and to share appreciation and excitement for topics in science, get technical and research experience early in our endeavors, as well as to explore careers in STEM and at national labs. And in addition to the various amazing research that happens at PNNL, there's also countless networking events and opportunities to get to know the other interns and researchers. And today, some of my closest friends are other interns that I met at PNNL over the summers. And I truly believe that, through the course of my internship, I took with me not only newfound skills in the lab, but also lasting connections and experiences that you really can't get anywhere else, all of which were made possible through the support from the U.S. Department of Energy. So thank you.
Thank you, Kumi. And here are your slides, Eva. Sorry about that. So there's Eva. She was talking about how she's pursuing. So sorry about that, Eva. All right. And then lastly, we have Andrew. Andrew.
Yeah, so speaking of material science, my project for the summer, I'm a material science student at the University of Washington. I'm a senior, and I did the SULI program during the summer of last year. So my SULI project was completely focused on material science. I was part of the material science department at PNNL, and what we were studying is a phenomenon called hydrogen embrittlement inside of metals. It's basically when you expose a metal to hydrogen, the hydrogen actually goes inside of the metals like crystals, and then it makes it very brittle and causes parts and such to fail before the designed specifications. So my project was, well, how exactly are we going to quantify and study hydrogen embrittlement in a lab? How are we going to get the hydrogen there in the first place? Because there's a big issue. The way we normally charge is what we call it, a sample with hydrogen, is we put it in essentially a saltwater bath and then run electricity through it. And that causes the hydrogen inside of the water molecules to just dive inside of the sample. Only issue is that it escapes from the sample very quickly. And in some studies, they found that time is 3 seconds. And so my goal during my internship was to design a device which completely bypassed having to charge the sample separately and then move it and mount it onto the sample holder. And you can see there's CAD models. We have the actual physical design, and there's a lot of prototyping that went into it. But in the end, we were able to come with the physical design that was able to mount onto a tester. And basically, it was basically a cup that had salt water in it with like a gasket that allowed the sample to be pulled up and down during testing, while we applied an electric current to put hydrogen inside the sample. It was a very wonderful experience. And from this slide, you can see this slide was actually part of a poster competition for a symposium, because right after during my SULI internship, I was invited to join the American Vacuum Society symposium, and I was offered a chance to enroll in their poster competition, which this poster won 3rd place for undergraduates, which I'm really happy about. The formatting is a bit messed up because it had to fit into the slides, but yeah, Suli program was a great experience. I was able to experience a lot just academically and just to get a sense of what scientists do in Department of Energy. I'm actually still working as a technical intern for my research group at PNNL. I currently have moved on from CAD design because I'm no longer there at Suli in person. I'm back in Seattle, Washington, finishing my university degree. Instead, I'm actually working on data science and potentially machine learning and supercomputer stuff in the future. But it's been a really great opportunity so far, and I really enjoy the Suli internship. I highly, highly recommend it to anybody else.
All right, thank you, Andrew. Since we are running out of time, we won't ask the ambassadors. I do want to tell you about an upcoming event next week. If you're interested, it's a virtual event. It's all week, and it's our Career Connected series. And so if you go and visit the link that we'll be putting in the chat box, if you are a materials scientist, if you're a materials major or you are computer science, there is a day dedicated to those researchers who are right now doing research in that area. So please check it out and listen to some of our top scientists. And then also we'll also be talking about Suli again. So if you are interested, we'll talk again about Suli. Again, follow us if you're interested. We're on PNNL's on Instagram, and we also have a link there. Our Suli students, so some of the students you heard today, like Eva, she's on there. There's some videos of them talking about their research. So it's a wide variety of what you can do. So please go follow us, and that's it. So any questions?
Thank you so much, Nicole. And so I see that like you have more opportunities for undergraduate students than graduate students. Is it correct?
We do have graduate student opportunities. And so I think we have so if you go to about PNNL internships, so we do, there is a link in the chat, and you can see some of our graduate research offers. The National Security Internship Program also has opportunities for master's interns, for graduate PhD interns. So if you're looking for that, and then also the EEDIP. So if you're in energy and environment, also those are major disciplines. They cross collaborate within both. So go and take a look. They do have opportunities for graduate level work. So master's program. And those two programs, the INSIP and the EEDIP, are taking applicants currently. So I know the deadline's coming up. So I would definitely, if you're interested, go look at some of those, because as we said, Suli is closed. But also Suli, if they are in their graduate, their master's level, they can take part still into Suli. They have to be at time of application 2 years after their undergraduate diploma.
Okay.
So
yeah. So and
that's
I see that, yeah, sure. I see that like, there are programs for 16 weeks in fall and spring, and they must be enrolled in school, or unless they are out graduated recently. So how they're going to handle the classes as well as being in an internship?
Well, we don't. So if they do apply, they're right now a junior, right, and they want to take a fall off, or maybe like a sophomore, they want to take their junior fall off. We highly suggest they do not take courses. We do know that could be challenging because of financial aid, or however you're paying for college. You have to be a full-time student, but maybe you can enroll in a REA, or maybe they give you credit for the internship. But we highly recommend, because you'll be doing 40 hours a week. As you heard some of the science that the students have talked about, it's highly what am I saying? You participate, that they treat you as a colleague, not a student. And so it would be challenging.
So floor is open to you guys, students, and ask any questions you may have.
If you haven't been to Washington State, come and visit us. Like we put in the chat box, we do offer 250 housing allowance a week. It is paid in a lump sum, so you get your housing up front, and it is taxed again. But we help you. We try to help you find housing, and then also you get your weekly pay, which is $650. But the experience outweighs, the weekly salary. Yes, please. Oh, ask questions to our students, to me, anything.
Hey, hi, Nicole. Yeah, so Stephen Babalola here, and I have one of our students that wants to know if you do consider non-traditional students for internships.
For what? I didn't catch the last part.
Non-traditional, like students that have kids, for example.
Oh, non-traditional, yes. Oh, yeah, so we do offer remote. So we have remote options. So if you're computational, a lot of our scientists who do wet lab also looking for computational, because that's major, they've got to produce their results. And so we have computational, so you could do remote. A lot of times you can do remote in a lot of these projects, or on site. So we do have those two. So for those who are non-traditional and they cannot leave, a remote might be best. Yes.
So good evening. My question is, so once someone has participated in a SULI program or something similar, and they want to seek employment with that same lab afterwards, is it kind of guaranteed that they would get a position, or what does that process look like if someone enjoyed the lab so much and they want to work there in the future? Would there be part-time job opportunities for them, or is it kind of step by step? Or yeah.
Yeah, I always tell students that SULI is a stepping stone. So SULI is your way into the laboratory, because if you go and apply, you just go to our careers page and go apply with some of our tech interns, which they're called if you're getting in after, like you're still undergraduate, it's a tech intern, you're applying with hundreds of students, right? Where SULI or some of our internship programs, it is a stepping stone. It is your way into the laboratory, and also like a 16-week job interview. So if they have funding and they really value the work you're doing, which a lot of our students stay. I right now I don't have the numbers off the top of my head, but like Akumi stayed, Andrew has stayed, Eva went on to do her graduate work. But there are opportunities, but it kind of depends on funding and then your availability. So sometimes students can't do it, right? But once you're in the system, that's a plus, because if you're in our national laboratory system, that is always a positive on your resume. But we do try to help you. We do career connected stuff. We do networking events. So we try to connect you with others who might have funding so you can stay.
And another question, kind of going off that, I don't know if you talked about this before, but what's some kind of what are bonuses that you guys look at on someone's resume when they're applying for the SULI programs that you guys like to see that the participants have? That's just kind of a bonus for you guys, I would say.
I would say for the essays are all, so when you're applying, know that our staff scientists are going to read those essays. They're going to call your references. They're going to look at what your reference has said about you. And so like Cheth mentioned earlier, if you've got motivation, you've got the talent, you do, right? And maybe you just don't have all the experience. You can bring that across in those essays. And if they can hear in your words that you're motivated and you are willing to learn and you're flexible, that is key. More than you've got a 4.0 and you have all this programming, right? They want to know that they can work with you, and that because at a national laboratory, it is research, and sometimes you don't have production, you don't have something to produce at the very end of 16 weeks. It's been just the experience of research. And so they understand that, and they want to be able to work with a student who's open. That is key. So, and also just being real flexible with your research interest. So if you're saying, oh, I only want to work at, the Marine Sciences Laboratory, well then, we're only going to place you at the Marine Sciences Laboratory. But if you say, hey, I like anything in, coastal marine policy work, anything, like that can help you get placed, be flexible, and be open to other research projects.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm sorry, I know we're over our time. I don't know if you guys have classes after this, but.
So any more questions?
I think there's a question in the chat about postdoc opportunities at PNNL.
Yeah, so the we do have our Office of Science graduate student program, which is offered by DOE. And I'm not sure, I do know you have to be in your graduate program. We do have postdoc opportunities, but those are very individualized, and you'll need to look on our PNNL careers webpage, and it's you'll go in and just put postdoc, and then all our postdoc opportunities will open up. And the good thing is that, we don't have the postdocs are a little bit more, there are not as many people applying. I mean, we still are applying, but it's a little bit more, there's more opportunity. I would also highly suggest, and what Eva talked about earlier, was cold calling or cold emailing somebody. If you see somebody in a research article or a research area that you've been studying and they're from PNNL, email them, or email me and I'll give you the information, or I'll forward your email over, because that's what I do. If students email me, I'll try to help you find who you can speak to. And that is probably the #1 way. Scientists love that, actually. They want to talk to you. They want to talk about their science. And so if you see somebody, look them up, Google them, and see what laboratory they're at, and then go for it. So there's people like me in every laboratory who's trying to help you get into the system.
Oh, can I add something to that real quick?
Yeah.
Yeah, and like with in Eva's presentation, the highlights from Office of Science are a great tool to look at some of the research people at the national labs are doing, and to get their contact information.
And that's also where I think being a student STEM ambassador can be really helpful to you guys. Is if you see somebody that you're interested in connecting with, we can introduce you. So far I've at UCR and at Heritage University, I connected with 4 or 5 students, and then I introduced them to a mentor. And 4 of the 5 ended up continuing with the internship. The only one just didn't, because she ended up not being interested in the research the person was doing. So if you email me with somebody that you're interested in, then I can introduce you over email, and there's a higher likelihood that they will respond. Because I have a PNNL email, and because I have, I just explained, my role at PNNL is to connect potential students with mentors. I think you get to would be beneficial in meeting, and a lot of the mentors respond very positively. And usually it's not just one mentor, it's 2 or 3. I'll send 2 or 3 introductory emails for you guys, and then based off of people's responses, and you can decide whether or not you want to continue moving forward with them, whether or not you want to do an informal interview with them, and it essentially just puts your foot in the door.
Yeah, and all of our scientists know about the SULI, majority of them, and so they'll contact me and tell me, hey, this student contacted me, how can we get him in? So I highly encourage you guys to do that. I think we had somebody else had a question, or somebody wasn't saying.
Yeah, I had a question. Another one. So you mentioned briefly talking about how you guys provide assistance and resources for people that's kind of like policy making and stuff. So my question is for these programs, is it primarily research, or is it kind of you guys encompass other aspects about STEM, such as, like I said, policy making, like the economic impact of STEM and things of that sort? And yeah, do you guys, is it just purely research, or is it kind of other aspects about STEM that you guys kind of also support?
Well, so we offer a lot, like applied, and then also just research, right? So some of our policy work, I'm trying to think of our policy. Our Joint Global Research Center does a lot of policy work. Our Seattle Center, based on energy and environment, are some of our national security. And so we do, and I can't, off the top of my head, I can't tell you exactly what research they're doing, but we do definitely they are looking at policies, because as we know, that's how some of the funding comes through. That's some of those government agencies that have certain things that they need to comply with and implement. And so, not only do we work with DOE, but we also work with private sectors, as well as some of some of the health areas. And so there's constantly research and work going on in those areas as well. So your question is yes. I mean, there's, like Chess said, there's 5,700 employees. We've got 4 major directorates. And then of course we've got our M&O, management and operations, which looks at facilities, which looks at safety and health, right? So there's somewhere for you to fit if policy is your work, or economics, it'd be a little bit harder to place, but we could. I think there's somebody in the back too who had a question.
It was me. Hi, my name is Sarah. I'm a civil engineering major, and I just wanted to know, do you guys work with civil engineers, or did you have a place for them if that was their major?
Oh yes, we definitely have civil engineering. We have scientists. So like right now, I'm currently placing for summer, and so I have a few mentors who are looking for civil engineers. Specifically, I have one for the housing and energy. So sustainable technology. And so right now they're doing research and studies on housing and gosh, I'm blanking on that one. The energy efficiency housing that right now. And so they're looking for civil engineers with that project, as well as some of our fishing, our lab research that does a lot of research on the dams, and our migratory passageway for our salmon. And so they like to do co-research with civil, with computer, with battery, with our marine sciences, because right now they're looking at, for instance, how to make a better battery, a tracking system to better track our salmon, right? So, and then they look at the impacts of the dam. So things like that. So we constantly are cross collaborating in these areas. So definitely we do civil. It's not one of our high majors that come in, like we have a lot of engineering, but civil's usually we have a little bit of low numbers, so you're definitely will be placed because we don't have that many civil engineers applied to the SULI program.
And I know it's closed, but are they still looking, or would I be applying for next summer?
So if you could do a fall right now, you would apply for fall. You wouldn't apply for summer until this coming October.
Okay, thank you.
But I would say, even if you've missed summer, it's a great time to go research the laboratories. Start talking to some of our scientists. So maybe they might have an opportunity for you to come in at a different way. If you're a civil engineer, also look at our EEDIP, which we did post a link, and I'm sorry, you probably can't see it all in the chat, but it is our environment and diversity internship program. They are still taking applications. Also in the national security, you would definitely fit in our national security. So if you're looking for a summer, possibly take a look at those. But if you also want to come in through SULI next year, let me know. I tell this to all the students. If you're going to apply to SULI and you're going to pick PNNL, please let me know. Email me, and I will look for your application. Of course, the placement determines our staff scientists, so how well you interview and how well you get your application, but I will make sure to get it out there so they can see it.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Nicole, if I may come in here. So the program that we collaborate with Chess Group on, it's a sponsored program by NNSA, and it actually provides us with some funding to send some of our students to our partner national labs like PNNL. And we are currently accepting applications and also trying to match our students with mentors. So in case of Sarah, who just asked the question, she's part of the PARS, and she meets all the qualifications. So if you could help Chess and help us link her with a mentor, then we possibly could cover all of the associated expenses to enable her to attend the internship for this summer.
Okay. Yeah, I'll definitely connect with Chess. And he knows, he's very aware of all the scientists, but I do know a few civil engineers, and it depends on your research interest too. So I will definitely connect with Chess. Or can you send me more information? I'm sorry, is it Stephanie, or what was the student? Sarah. If you could send me some more information, maybe about your research interest, that'll help me narrow down who to contact for you.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, so thank you. I know we're way over our time, so we appreciate, and I know our students, I know that you guys probably have other classes to go to. So if that's it, we will be adjourning. I'm not sure if there's any
Thank
other.
you so much. Thank you so much, Nicole. And please convey our gratitude to Chess also, and all the students, Ikumi, Eva, and Andrew. We are very much impressed, and I'm sure most of our students are also motivated and probably looking forward to joining PNNL at some point. But thank you so much, and we would like to hear from you guys, and we would like to talk more about these things, and we would like to join. Thank you again. Let's give them a big round of applause.
All right,
Thank you again, and all the best for the students, and thank you, Nicole. Yes.
And I also put a link in, and I'm not sure if you guys want to send it on to the students. If they want to connect to other student STEM ambassadors, we do have a webpage, and all you do is put in your information, and then it'll go to the ambassador you're wanting to connect with. They also have their LinkedIn pages, and so if you want to connect with them through LinkedIn, do that too. So please go check it out if you have any questions about internships.
Sure. Now we have the student ambassadors connection, and now we have you. So I'm sure that some of us will secure these. Thank you so much again. Thank you for your time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.